Welcome to the Minds of YACHTLLYWOOD, the podcast. Here we will uncover the stories behind the yachting industry.
I fell in love with an Italian girl. So many people on social media covering yacht.
I feel a little bit threatened by...
And I thought, you know what, with YouTube, I could do something like that for yachts. Now, when you're selling something, it's great to have a story. Then you're almost failing before you even start.
I'm Sofiana Bergolzi, your host, and now let's dive into the conversation. But first, take a little second and hit the subscribe button. Welcome once again to the Minds of YACHTLLYWOOD, the podcast. Today I think it's the most exciting episode that I can think of. We are with David Seal. David Seal is the founder of Yachts for Sale and so on, right?
That's right. I have Yachts for Sale, Yachts for Charter, and Yacht Builders YouTube channels.
YouTube channel, that's how he started, and I'm sure you guys recognize his face, his charisma. We all know that he's super knowledgeable. But David, we don't know, how did you get to be the star of the yachting industry? What is the path that you went through?
Well, thank you for star of the yachting industry. I don't know if that's exactly the case, but I'm probably the most present on the internet in the yachting industry. And actually, my beginnings had nothing to do with the yachting industry at all. I came from an area in England that couldn't be further from the sea. To cut a very long story short, I fell in love with an Italian girl. I moved to Italy, and the Italian girl just happened to live very close to Mr. Norberto Ferretti, who, as you know, owned at the time the Ferretti Yachts shipyard that went on to become Ferretti Group. And that introduced me to the amazing world of yachts that I had no idea even existed. I eventually became a yacht broker after about 10 years working with Ferretti. And shortly after that, the internet, I would say, became invented. It was invented, I'm sure, long before that, but it became accessible to everybody. And I was a yacht broker, and one of the challenges that I saw was that every month, when you have a yacht for sale, you have to report to the owner of the yacht and say what you've done to try to sell his yacht. And if you don't sell the yachts, and bear in mind, in 2008, the world financial crash happened, and it became very difficult to sell yachts. And if you didn't sell the yachts, you'd feel like every month you were saying the same thing, which would be, well, we've sent out emails, so many people have seen it online on the website, you know, what can you say? And then YouTube came along, and when I was younger, I wanted to be an actor. And I let my parents put me off the idea. But I've always enjoyed talking to an audience, and I've always felt confident talking to an audience. And at the time, I was watching a lot of English television in Italy. Do you remember when people used to have satellite dishes fitted to their roof? So I had my satellite dish angled towards the right satellite. Top Gear had just come on the television, location, 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 all of the grand designs. And I was watching all of this English television. And I thought, you know what, with YouTube, I could do something like that for yachts. And so I did it. And that led to another video and another video. And I think in the first 5 years, I produced something like 32 videos.
Wow.
The next 5 years, over 300 videos. So it really was in the last 6 or 7 years that I've doubled down and really focused on the YouTube channel.
So I see you are the pioneer in the yachting industry, but did you get inspired by other industries, maybe real estate, or it was just...
I think at the time I was working for quite a large brokerage that I'm not with anymore, and the CEO of the company took a dim view of what I was doing, because back then it was like YouTube, we're dealing with high-end products here. Rich people don't look at YouTube, but that was their attitude. And I remember at the time looking to see if anybody was doing the same thing in real estate. And actually, some of the Trump properties had YouTube channels associated with them and somebody doing walkthrough presentations. And I thought, well, if it's good enough for very high-end real estate, then nobody should tell me it can't be done with yachts.
What is the difference between showing the yacht on itself and having you present it? How does the buyer perceive this?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the thing with social media, and you know this very well because you've got a very successful Instagram page, which I watch all the time, by the way, is that people want to feel some sort of engagement or connection with the person. And I'll name names because there's no shame in this. I look at the other big yacht brokerage YouTube channel, and it's Dennis and Yachts. And they've done a tremendous job of walkthrough videos. But the only thing that I believe has hampered them, and I'm sure they would accept this themselves, is that because each video is presented by a different broker, the viewer never gets to have a feeling of engagement with a specific broker. So you might watch somebody do a walkthrough video and you think, I like this guy, this is great, I'll watch next week. And next week it's somebody different.
Yes.
And then you think, well, you know, okay, he was interesting, maybe he'll be on, and next week it's somebody different again. So they can never build a relationship with the person. And the advantage I've had is that because certainly for the first 90% of the time I've been doing this, I was presenting every single video. You know, some people hate me, and that's fine. They don't keep coming back to the channel. But sufficient people like the way that I present the yachts that they keep coming back, and that's built a really loyal audience base of now over 250,000 people who enjoy watching the videos.
Yeah, and I want to say something, it may sound a little bit selling, but something that I'm pursued and I try to explain is when you have this presence online with the social media, the audience sees you as a friend. We can kind of build some level of trust in them to us. So this is something very tricky. So you kind of have to keep your ethics. So this trust is respected, right? There is this very strong connection between the audience and of course you must be huge. But I feel it like when I'm in the shows or something, people stop me and there is this connection, like they see me as a friend.
You're absolutely right. I was filming, I think 2 months ago in the Bahamas, and the yacht broker said to me, you're filming this yacht and the owner is going to be on board. And I said, I don't film yachts with the owner on board because it's really difficult to get the job done. And they said, no, you don't understand. The owner's coming because they watch your YouTube channel and they want to meet you. Lovely lady who owned the yacht. And when she came up to me, she went to give me a big hug and then stopped and said, I'm so sorry. She said, I'm so sorry we've never met, but I feel like I know you.
Exactly.
And that's very satisfying because you do feel that you have a personal connection with viewers.
And going back a little bit to this that you have just mentioned about different brokers presenting, to me is a little bit, I don't know how to talk about this because I don't want to sound like a pretentious or whatever, but it feels like this is a particular work that we do, and now I feel, because I'm pretty new on this, but I feel a little bit threatened by everybody kind of wanting to do what I take it so serious as my everyday job. Do you feel this way? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky because I was one of the first, if not the first, to do this particular sort of video. For you, it's a lot more challenging. And one of the reasons I was really happy to do the podcast was because I genuinely admire the approach that you're taking. I think it's very professional. I think it's very targeted, because you and I have spoken quite a few times, and I think when you were first doing it, you were trying to figure out the best way of doing it, and now you've got your clients, you've got your targets and your mission that you want to accomplish, and I think that's great. But because you've started when you've started, it's very difficult not to get lost amongst the noise of so many people on social media covering yachts. And the only way that you'll conquer that is by just working harder and more, which I think you already do, being more consistent, working harder than everybody else. And you'll find that in the long run, that will win the battle for you.
Something that I have experienced, for example, is I don't know, again, because I arrived kind of a little late to the party, let's say, well, maybe in a few years it won't be the case.
No, I'm sure. You're absolutely right.
So when I started this whole adventure, I really focused in the people and in interviewing. And now I see, let's say, it has become a trend. But I do have some fear, but then, as you said, I really, when you take something serious, and it has to go to the good side, right? Another fear that I feel, I was now in Dubai speaking to somebody who develops different technologies for the industry. And he told me, well, what do you do? And I showed him, and like, oh, really? That's so nice. But yesterday, in something like, it was no more than 3 hours, I produced this. And he showed me basically a movie.
Wow.
And he's like, I use this AI tool, and this one, and this one, and then I do blah, 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 and ta-da! I'm like, okay. How do you feel about artificial intelligence?
So I'm really keen to learn more about it. There's so much more to it than I originally thought, because I originally thought AI is ChatGPT. But that's the tip of the iceberg. And my editing team use AI to assist them with their editing. I'm not even going to pretend I understand what they're doing, but very often there'll be some particular issue with the video. Maybe it's bad sound quality or lighting, and they'll say, we can sort that out with AI. And I'll okay, that's fine then. So we're using AI already. I've started to use it experimentally for writing scripts, but I'm not happy yet with the results, but I think we'll get there eventually. You know, the yachting business is a relationships business, right? It really is. And as we said earlier about people feeling like they know you and you're actually building a relationship with your followers, I don't think AI is at that point yet that it can replace you or replace me. Maybe it will in the future, but for the time being, I think we need to be ourselves, be natural with what we do, and put the effort into presenting things in our own authentic way.
Exactly. How you say, in the same conference in Dubai, we had this discussion, and at the end I say, you know, I don't know if it's because I'm a traditionalist or close-minded person, I don't know, but if we go to the basics, what is a yacht? A yacht is more than an object. Is a way to feel, to have sensations, to go out of your reality. It's something so human that you cannot explain with technology. Even if you do your best effort, the human touch is needed, especially when you want to sell. When you want to sell, of course, part of selling a yacht is selling the object, the technical side, and the innovations that it has, but you're selling a dream. So that's why we fit in, right?
And there's something else to say on that as well, on that subject, which is that the person you spoke to at Dubai showed you a beautifully polished video done with AI. And your videos are very high-end. They're really nicely edited, and I like to think that mine are too. But then you look at somebody like Aquaholic, Nick Burnham, who's a good friend of mine, and I love the guy to bits. And he literally turns up with a GoPro on a stick and walks around and talks about, and his YouTube channel is at least 3 times bigger than mine. I would love to have the views that he gets on his YouTube channel. no AI, no high-end editing, and I'd say this in front of Nick, and he'd agree, he wouldn't be at all offended. But why do 3 times more people watch him than watch me? It's because they feel a connection with him, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's about the person and the personal approach, and people feel like he's their mate down the pub who's going to take them for the afternoon to take a look at a boat.
And it's like the way you do, it's very interesting approaches, because the way you do, you sell the project, you sell the piece of art, basically, right?
I try to.
The way alcoholic does, they sell the reality. They sell the moment.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom. It's like you are looking at the yacht through my eyes, and how I sell the dream.
Yeah, and I think everybody who does social media needs to know what their end goal is. So if you're doing social media because you want to be, I hate doing that because it's such a pretentious thing to do, the rabbit ears, but an influencer, then you're almost failing before you even start. But if you have a mission, and I see the way that you're putting together events, for example, and you're helping other people with their social media, so you have a business behind your social media, that can work. And my business is selling yachts and marketing yachts and making my YouTube channels into a powerful marketing platform that a brokerage company can benefit from. So as long as you keep that in mind, it helps you to build your social media in a way that's going to be productive. And if it's productive, it's sustainable, and you can keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. So now that you touch again this selling through the videos, what do you think is the most important points to include in a video when it comes to that particular?
So every yacht's different, and when I can, I like to talk to the captain, the broker. Occasionally, I get to speak to the owner to understand the particular benefits of that yacht. So I'm trying to think of some. I'll give you a great example. The yacht in the Bahamas, where the lady owner came up to me and watched the YouTube channel. Speaking with her husband, he said, "We love this yacht because we feel we can take it anywhere. It will never let us down." He said, "We were making our way back from one of the Caribbean islands to go through the Panama Canal and up to, I think, San Francisco. And they said, why don't we just do the Med instead?" And they literally turned around and booked it on Dock Express or whatever, left it in the Caribbean and did the Med. Now, when you're selling something, it's great to have a story. And that was such a good story to tell in the video that shows how reliable the boat was. They didn't say, oh yeah, but what if this breaks? What if that breaks? What about the fuel consumption? No, they knew it would be fine. They just left it there, put it on a ship and took it to the Med. So every yacht's different. When I get a story like that, it makes it so much easier to present the yacht. I'll just tell you one other one because it comes to mind. I remember we were filming in, I think, San Diego, a yacht. And honestly, it wasn't the most attractive of yachts at all. But every year they'd go to Alaska from San Diego.
Oh, wow.
And the captain was showing me an old map. I mean, not old, like 100 years old, but maybe 20-year-old map from the original owner of the yacht with these handwritten notes of spotted polar bears here, fresh salmon here, approach only by the tender here. And as he was showing me, oh, this is fantastic. So we got him to tell the story again, and we took a close-up of his finger on the map showing where it was written polar bears here. And that then sells the dream, because people are like, I want to do that. I want to go to Alaska as well. I want to see the polar bears. This is the yacht to do it on. So it's really, when you do a walkthrough video of a yacht, it's really worth your time speaking to the captain. If you can speak to the owner, speak to the brokers and get the backstory to it.
Now that you're speaking about traveling, how is this experience of you having this work and going to such a remote and fascinating places? Do you like it? And tell me.
I do. I really do. I love my life. I absolutely do. I'm having a blast. But it's completely unsustainable. And I think over the last year or two, I've come to a realization that this is a business. I've got to treat it like a business, and I need to do what makes business sense. And all of that travel, and I took over 100 flights in 2022 and close to 100 flights in 2023. All of that travel is exhausting. You know, people, I think if I go back to my hometown of Wolverhampton, far from the sea, people will be going, oh yeah, poor you, world's smallest violin. You've just come back from the Caribbean and now you've got to go off to Croatia. But you know and I know that although it's fantastic, it is exhausting. And also, with all the best will in the world, I think to myself, I can do that work in the airport. But I never do.
No, it never happens.
And it never happens, yeah. And you think, well, perhaps I can open up the laptop on the aircraft, but you never do. So imagine the time that I'm wasting with 100 flights in a year.
A third of your life. Basically.
Yeah, so now I'm working on a system which will allow me to travel less. I've just been now, I think, 2 weeks or more in Monaco, sleeping in my own bed, eating healthy food. Well, I've cooked it myself, so if it's healthy, I don't know. But it's not, restaurant food, which you end up having wine and... It's a more healthy lifestyle. So now I'm all about trying to get a work-life balance that makes business sense.
Mm-hmm. So now that you touched that point, there is from my experience, there is a lot of misconceptions, right? So people think, okay, you have the dream job. Yes, I do have the dream job. Yes, but also they think. And also something that happens to the clients because they see the result as a beautiful video, peaceful, the ocean and everything. They think the production and all the process behind is the same. It's beautiful, it's calm, it's just sales like that, right? What is your experience in this?
So it's 90% incredibly hard work for the 10% of being on the yachts, enjoying amazing locations. And I'll give you an example. We were filming Slava and I. Slava's like my main production guy. I have a chief editor and a chief production guy, and then we have lots of people underneath, who support them in what they do. And Slava and I were in Antalya on the south coast of Turkey to film the Aris shipyard. Mm-hmm. And we had to go from there to Bodrum the next day to film a yacht in Bodrum. Now, there's two ways of getting there. You can either get a flight all the way up to Istanbul and then all the way back down to Bodrum, which is expensive, time-consuming, and exhausting. Or we could rent a car and drive up, which was a 6-hour drive. Have you been to Turkey? You've been to Turkey, haven't you? You know what it's like there. It's
oh my God, I'm working through
so
coast is crazy.
I've been there many, many times, and I've learned that preparation is essential there. You can't just grab a taxi. So I found a nice company online. I paid the fee online for this 6-hour taxi drive, and they said, we have a top-of-the-range Mercedes Viano, which will come and pick you up. This thing picked us up. It had no suspension. The seats, it was almost, I'm exaggerating, but it felt like they'd taken the lovely Mercedes seats out and put wooden benches in there. Oh, no. And what you just did with your hand, that's exactly right. 6 hours of being thrown about in the back of this Mercedes, and I mean thrown about, not knowing if we were going to crash, fall off of a cliff. We got to our hotel. We felt like we'd been beaten up for 6 hours. It's exhausting. I mean, I love it, by the way. I love it because there's something in me that just loves the challenge of doing it. But, if people think that all we do is sit and have cocktails on the back of a yacht, they're very wrong, very mistaken.
Especially when you are not only the face, but you are also the brain when you're directing on things. In my experience...
Can you say that again for my video guys?
Okay, I don't know.
Jarek and Slava, I'm the brain.
No.
And the face.
Is not that the case? I'm just a model. No, but I mean, and when you're filming, you have one opportunity, one day, yeah, you can do multiple takes, but like now, we have the dog barking. Thank you very much.
He's suddenly got very jealous, I think.
So you have to improvise, you have to solve problems on the go, and you have this adrenaline, but it's hard. In my case, I'm like makeup, high heels, having to.
Oh, the high heels kill me.
Thanks God in the yacht I'm not wearing high heels, but like sometimes you arrive to the yacht and sometimes you even have to clean because. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it is tough, and there's a lot more challenges to it. Logistically, it's very challenging. You can fly long distances to a yacht, and then it rains on the day of the shoot. Most captains and crew are very, very cooperative, but occasionally you get captains and crew who don't want to cooperate. I've had one captain didn't want to take the yacht out to sea, and we eventually got him to, but under threat of calling the owner and calling the shoot off. And there's a lot of challenges to it.
And how do you deal with that and with let's say the criticism that can be, and even the controversy? Sometimes you want to approach in an angle that people are not expected to do. How do you deal with that part?
So criticism comes from different sources, right? There's nasty comments on the YouTube channel sometimes, and when you receive those, you have to have a thick skin, but also you have to be open to the fact they might be right. Sometimes what they say in a very nasty way is basically quite right, and so I try to take that on board, and if I can adjust accordingly. The really nasty comments, I just block them from the channel, because I've created a community, which is a nice community. I don't want people there using foul language and unnecessarily being unpleasant. But then also there's a certain amount of criticism from brokers who I'm representing. I've got to be honest, it doesn't happen very often. The hardest criticism to accept from me personally is when it comes from the owner of the yacht. And that's only ever happened twice. And I take it really hurts me, because my videos are like my little babies. I'm really proud of them. And when the owner of the yacht's not happy, that really cuts to my heart. But we've always been able to find a solution. And 99% of yacht owners, I find it easy to work with, but some will just never be happy no matter what you do. And so when that happens, I just need to take a view on it and try to be objective and move on.
And just to close, how do you see your career and overall, now that we are in this world that's so visual, so much driven by social media, how it will change in the years, or you think it's gonna?
Ooh, I hope it doesn't change too much too soon, because my business is based upon it. I think YouTube's here to stay for a long time. I don't see it going anytime soon. Certainly in my working life, I don't expect it to go down. I think other platforms will come and go. I was very interested. Do you remember a few years ago that YouTube were offering a form of video where you could scroll right and scroll left? You needed a special camera. And so the viewer, for example, if you were driving a car, almost 360, but a wider view. So if you were driving a car, the viewer would be able to scroll and look out of this window and out of that way. And that really interested me, but it never took off. YouTube experimented with it, and it never took off. And the same is true now with the virtual reality goggles. I think while people are having to wear goggles, buy goggles and wear goggles, I don't see it taking over from video productions of yachts just yet. The other thing is that people like to have somebody else present something to them. If you have a really nice dish in a restaurant, people love it when the chef comes out and says, "Madame, today we have this, that, and the other peas grown from my grandmother's garden." It adds so much to the experience. And so presenting high-end products, I think will go away. It will not go away anytime soon. But what I have seen is that TikTok and Instagram, it's all about little short 5 second, 10 second, 1 minute videos. And that's something I'm really curious about and I want to learn more about.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it could get kind of a little bit frustrating because you prepare this very cinematographic production, and I need to say there's so many companies that are doing an incredible job with the videography, with the quality. Is just mind-blowing. And then let's say you spend a whole day producing this, or even multiple days, and then it just goes in 10 seconds. Because longer, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is that sometimes the video that you think is fantastic and people are going to love, nobody watches. The one that you're not sure about whether to even publish gets all the views. I did a vlog from behind my desk about Royal Houseman's Sea Eagle 2, and when I looked at it, I thought it was so bad I didn't even want to publish it, but I had nothing to publish that week, so I published it anyway. Royal Houseman loved it. They wrote to me, thanks so much for doing this. It had over 1 million views. Wow. And I was like, well, that just shows that you just can't second guess what people want to see.
Yeah. And what is the best project, the yacht that you have enjoyed most filming versus the one that has had better views and better engagement?
I really enjoy getting involved with projects. So, for example, we filmed Ragnar, the Icon Explorer yacht, and I think we did a series of 3 videos showing it in various stages of production.
Now I see with Ocean Code too.
With Ocean Code, we've done one video of H3, which was the biggest project we ever had, and I absolutely loved doing that. But I really like being able to go back to see a yacht being built and showing the viewers, because the viewers get very engaged, and I find it fascinating. So those, I think, are my favourite projects.
Nice. David, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody else, and even the dogs.
I didn't even notice that he was there, actually. Hardly noticed him there. I think he's fallen asleep.
And I hope to have you next time with another topic, maybe more specific, maybe.
Thank you, Sofiana. I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And yay!
Thanks for joining us today in the Minds of YACHTLLYWOOD, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more exciting episodes with incredible guests. Until next time.